Across the Elder Scrolls universe, gods are everywhere, and nothing is as it seems. Official doctrine says the Aedra sacrificed their power to create the mortal world, while the Daedra, untouched and mighty, watch from the shadows. So who really controls Tamriel? Divine architects bound by law, or cosmic outsiders ready to break it? Understanding every single Elder Scrolls. God means confronting creation myths that spell doom, forbidden powers stolen by mortals, and immortal feuds that shape entire empires. Which stories are real and which gods are even worshipped by the wrong name? The answers redefine not just faith, but reality itself, if you know where to look. Before there were mortals, there were the Ateda, primordial spirits, each a wellspring of cosmic power. The world of Mundus exists because many of these spirits gave up a part of themselves, pouring their essence into the bones of reality. This act was no gentle offering. Creation demanded sacrifice, and most of the Ateda who chose to shape the world lost their strength, becoming the Aedra. Their power bled away into mountains, rivers, and the very air, leaving them weakened, distant from those who would one day worship them. Akatosh, the first among equals, set the heartbeat of time in motion, but even he could not escape the cost. Others, like Magnus, saw the trap unfolding and fled, tearing open the sun as an escape route. Those who refused to give anything, the Daedra, remained untouched, holding on to every scrap of might and freedom. The split between those who sacrificed and those who abstained set the hierarchy of gods in stone. The Aedra, now locked within the laws of Mundus, became anchors for reality but lost much of their original power. The Daedra, unbound and whole, lingered outside, forever powerful but forever apart. The story of Elder Scrolls divinity begins here, with a choice, a wound, and a world paid for in divine blood. Temples rose alongside palaces, their columns carved with the faces of the 8 divines. In the heart of Cyrodiil, faith was not just a private matter, it was the backbone of law and order. The imperial clergy served as both spiritual guides and bureaucrats, their authority reaching from city squares to the emperor's own council. After the death of Saint Alessia, the prophet Maruk claimed a vision that set the empire on a new course. By the year 1 E361, the Alessian doctrines demanded monotheism, elevating Akatosh above all others and outlawing the worship of gods with elven ties. Priests became judges, inquisitors, and lawmakers, wielding the power to decide guilt and innocence. Temples enforced strict codes, rooting out heresy and erasing old customs. For over a century, the order's synods rivaled the emperor's own authority. The law itself bent to the will of the faith. All were guilty until proven innocent, and even the smallest hint of forbidden worship could end in trial. The backlash was inevitable. As the Alessian order's grip weakened after 1 E498, imperial rulers restored the old gods, codifying the 8 divines: Akatosh, Arkay, Dibella, Julianos, Kinnereth, Mara, Stendarr, and Zenithar. The imperial cult emerged, blending bureaucracy with belief. Priests managed shrines, counseled rulers, and shaped the daily lives of citizens. The emperor now stood as the cult's head, drawing legitimacy from the gods themselves. In Tamriel, the line between temple and state blurred until faith itself became law and the gods' names were written into every edict and decree. Mehrunes Dagon's arrival in the Third Era, 433, was not a prophecy, but a disaster written in blood. The city of Kvatch burned as Daedra poured through rifts in the sky, and the dragonfires, long the Empire's shield, offered no protection. In the chaos, faith in the old order faltered. Priests called on Akatosh, but it was the Daedra who answered, their power undiminished by mortal prayers. Dagon's rampage was not the first time Oblivion had touched the world, only the most undeniable. Records from the Imperial Library speak of entire provinces overrun, and the silence of the gods felt sharper than any blade. Not all Daedra crave destruction. Sheogorath, Prince of Madness, crafts chaos with a smile, turning reason on its head and rewriting the rules of reality in his own image. Mortals bargain with him for power or escape, but his gifts are traps as often as they are blessings. The Daedra's indifference to mortal suffering stands in stark contrast to the distant, law-bound Aedra. Here, belief is not a shield but a wager. Some gamble for favor, others for survival. While the Empire reeled, the Nords looked to their own stories. In their halls, Shor is not a villain but a trickster king, betrayed for daring to give men a place in the world. Alduin, the World Eater, is both a dragon and a doom, prophesied to devour time itself and begin the next age. For the Nords, gods are not static icons but living threats and allies, their actions shaping the fate of every clan. Each myth offers a different answer, and none can claim the final word. In Tamriel, faith is a battlefield, and the gods are never silent for long. Far from the snow and stone of Skyrim, the Red Guards trace their gods to the shifting sands of Yokuda. At the center stands Ruptka, the Tall Papa, who forged order from chaos and led his people across the stars to Tamriel. His wisdom shaped the laws of migration, guiding the Yokudans through disaster and exile. But not all spirits followed his path. Sep, the serpent, promised shortcuts and new worlds, only to scatter souls in endless wandering. For the Red Guards, divinity is a journey, each god a lesson in survival, cunning, or sacrifice. Across the southern deserts, the Khajiit look skyward, reading fate in the dance of the moons. Their gods are not fixed in form or story. Azura, mother of all Khajiit, crafted their shapes by weaving them into the lunar lattice. When Masser and Secunda wax and wane, Khajiit are born into different bodies, warriors, priests, or tricksters. Each phase a reflection of Azura's original blessing and curse. The moons themselves, Joan and Jode, are living gods, their phases dictating not just the calendar, but the very nature of Khajiit society. Some walk the sands as sleek hunters, others as wise mystics, all owing their fate to the shifting sky. For both Redguard and Khajiit, the divine is never distant or unchanging. Gods walk the roads beside mortals, sometimes as guides, sometimes as rivals. Always as reminders that faith is shaped by the land beneath one's feet and the heavens overhead. In the First Era, 3 mortals, Vivec, Almalexia, and Sothasil, stood at the foot of Red Mountain and seized the power of a dead god. Using Kagranak's tools, they tapped into the heart of Lorkhan, rewriting the rules that bound ordinary men and women. By the year 1 E700, the Tribunal had crossed the final boundary, transforming themselves into living gods. Their apotheosis was neither accident nor blessing. It was an act of will, ritual, and mythic theft. The mechanics were brutal. The heart offered limitless divine energy, but only to those bold enough to claim it and bear the consequences. This act proved that the line between mortal and divine could be breached, not through birthright, but by mastering the hidden currents of reality itself. Later, Tiber Septim would follow a similar path, echoing the Tribunal's ascent and sparking centuries of conflict over who truly deserved the mantle of godhood. In the Fourth Era, year 175, the Empire signed the White Gold Concordat, outlawing the worship of Talos across its lands. The Thalmor, ruling the Aldmeri Dominion, demanded this ban, not just to erase a human god, but to strike at the very foundation of mortal power. Talos, once Tiber Septim, is more than a symbol. His divinity anchors the mythic towers that hold Mundus together. By severing the link between man and their ascended god, the Thalmor aim to weaken these anchors, unraveling reality itself and restoring the world to elven ideals. The ban has turned Skyrim into a war zone, with rebels risking everything to defend their right to worship. Every shrine destroyed, every priest silenced, pushes Tamriel closer to a metaphysical breaking point. In the struggle over Talos, faith and existence hang in the balance. Over 30 distinct gods and spirits have shaped Tamriel's history, according to official records and documented myths. From the Aedris sacrifice in creating Mundus to the Daedric invasions like the Oblivion Crisis of the Third Era, 433, every event reflects the ongoing power struggle between divine forces and mortal ambition. The Tribunal's ascent in the First Era, 700, and the Talos ban in the Fourth Era, 175, prove that even godhood is subject to politics, culture, and conflict. Yet, despite centuries of doctrine and reform, like the Alessian Reformation, no single truth has unified Tamriel's beliefs. Key mysteries remain, including the origins of creation and the true nature of the towers. As chronicled in imperial archives and eyewitness accounts, the gods of the Elder Scrolls are not just ancient relics, but active players in the world's fate. The evidence shows that in Tamriel, the line between mortal and divine is never absolute.